Alright, first of all I want to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Tracy Burrows. Today I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit about a very important issue that is becoming a problem in the United States. First of all, I want to start off by asking y'all a couple questions. How many of y'all have ever been driving down the road and had somebody either swerve in your lane or almost cause an accident? Put your hands down. How many of them was a result of them using a cell phone? Okay, but no. Now, on an honesty level, how many of y'all have ever driven in your vehicle while talking on a cell phone in a conversation or text messaging?
Never.
Okay, put your hands down. Alright, the subject that I'm going to cover with y'all today is about not using cell phones while driving in your vehicle, whether it's talking on the cell phone or text messaging. Okay. In 1990, the research statistics showed that 4.3 million people in the U.S. had cell phones. Now, in October 2008, the numbers have increased to 266 million people. So it's becoming a very large issue. It's to the point where driving while using a cell phone is almost more of an issue than drunk driving, because there's more people that have a cell phone versus having alcohol and driving. There are two dangers that come from driving and talking on the cell phone. The first one is the eye contact that they lose when they either text message or use the phone to dial a number. And the second part is that they become so absorbed in the conversation that they lose focus on the road and signals and such. Drivers are 4 times as likely to cause accidents in a vehicle if they are talking on a cell phone versus if they were not engaged in a conversation or not using a cell phone at all. Research has been reported that cell phone impairment results from an intentional blindness, which is basically where the person that is on the cell phone takes all their contact off of the roads, the traffic signals, and anything, basically the environment around them, and they focus more on the cell phone itself. Not exactly on the handling portion of it or the dialing portion, but on the actual conversation. So their visual stimuli switches to auditory stimuli. So instead of actually visually seeing the things on the roads, they're hearing the conversation instead. Recent studies have also shown that driving impairment is an intentional impairment which results from the shifting of their attention span. So like I said earlier, instead of paying attention to the visual environment, now they're listening to the auditory environment. Drivers are more likely to miss critical traffic signal signs, vehicles in front of them, maybe that are slowing down to brake for the speed of traffic. And research has shown that no matter how many times an individual gets in a vehicle and tries to drive and use a cell phone, they're never going to get better at it. It's just a situation that no matter how much practice you have, it's never going to change. Studies have also shown that drivers that use cell phones are 19% slower to actually stop in the speed of traffic. So if a vehicle in front of them slows down, 19% of them are going to rear end that vehicle because they're not paying attention because they're on the cell phone. The first law about not using cell phones while driving was passed in New York in 2001. It banned the use of cell phones and handheld free devices. And it even, in California, they even went so far as to extend it to anyone under the age of 18 cannot use any device, period, unless it's for an emergency such as call 911. Some states feel, there's 17 states right now in the U.S. that ban cell phone usage. Some states have more severe punishments than others. If you're a repeated offender, they'll send you to jail, you have to pay fines. Some states have where you have to pay a $20 fine, and if you get caught again, you have to pay a $40 fine, and then the third time is you go to jail. They're also coming up with stricter laws now for employers, where if you're an employee that comes to a new business, if they don't brief you on, if you're an employee that has to travel for your job, if your employer does not brief you on not talking on a cell phone about business while you're driving, if you get into an accident and you were actually having a business conversation, your employer is now liable or can be held liable for anything that happens. So they'll have to pay your insurance bill, so on and so forth. Cell phone companies, if you buy a cell phone from them now, they're supposed to give you the warning, kind of like how if you smoke cigarettes, they give you the warning, that you're not allowed to, it's not a good idea for you to talk on the cell phone while you drive. So if cell phone companies do not brief you on that, they can be held liable. And that is pretty much it. That concludes my speech. Do you have any questions? Okay, I have one more question. How many of y'all have ever actually seen an accident where someone was using a cell phone? So basically, the conclusion to mine is I had a personal experience where a lady in front of me was using a cell phone, and she actually flipped and rolled over the interstate like 6 times. And she was very lucky to have survived, but I'm guilty of using a cell phone. But my thing is after looking at the research and seeing the statistics about how many accidents occur from using a cell phone, I think that it's probably better off to just not use it until you get to a place where you can remain still. So hopefully y'all have learned a little bit about why using a cell phone is not a very good idea, and I hope that changes.